People don't know I'm Spider-Woman. I got a tattoo to go with it. I'm a heritage worker, and what that means is I'm insisting that Black folks see themselves in a way that is affirming and validating and celebratory and revelatory and restorative and resistant. Yeah, my work is about making sure that cultural spaces, educational spaces, historic places like Goree Island in Senegal, or the slave quarters in New Bern, North Carolina, the dwelling of ostensibly formerly enslaved people, that Black folks have a chance to heal wounds, historic, intergenerational, through a release and ritual, but at the same time, there's a restoration because they can see themselves more fully in a more affirming way. That's what I do. Well, duh, I'm Black, albeit light-skinned and freckled, thanks to the Irish. Thank y'all. We have some things in common, including oppression. I majored in literature at a historically Black college, North Carolina Central University. And I was very clear that I was interested because of Miss Penny in high school. I took my first African-American lit class in high school, and I read the autobiography of Malcolm X, and then I hung out at the Black bookstore in Raleigh with the Dillahunts, who are my mentors, who are actually covered in my book, We Got So We Can Heal. I'm a word girl. I don't know if y'all seen Word Girl on PBS, but I'm a word girl. But I always understood that the literary works of Black folks gave us a space to redefine ourselves on our own terms. So I did my thesis on Angela Davis, Elaine Brown, and Assata Shakur. If you don't know who they are, you should look them up. Not you, but you. Because I understood that autobiography was a way in which Black people redefine themselves on their own terms. Not even as biography, but autobiography. First person, I'm gonna tell you who I am. So my work is about me and us telling each other and the world, this is who we are. Take it or leave it. So my literary background, for sure. I want folks to feel in their bodies. I want them to have an embodied experience that deepens their connection with Gee's chapter 4 in another lifetime. I want them, I'm cool with a cognitive connection, like, oh, I understand this more fully. Okay, that's cute. But what about the rest of you in your relationship to this work? Because the work is deeply spiritual, it's deeply personal, it's very intimate. It required Gee to be vulnerable, and I think in some ways there's an invitation to the audience to be vulnerable. So my job in this collab space is to help people lean in a little bit more with greater understanding and connection. Two things, and they're related, and maybe it's three things. I think what I struggle with is naming what I do, Natea, is sacred and spiritual and connected to spiritual traditions that may make people uncomfortable. So I'm at a point now where I name it very clearly. Somebody told me that I had to describe the collab experiences in one sentence, and the only way I could do it was to use words I've always been afraid to use, right? That's the biggest challenge for me, is like, how do I step. In yoga, we talk about this idea of being a fully authentic, expressed spirit, soul. Like everybody else, I have insecurities and questions about my worth. I know it's hard to believe. But, so being able to name or not name what it is that I do with confidence and courage has been a challenge, and one that I continue to navigate and try to lean into and overcome so I can deal with the next challenge. That's my biggest challenge. Oh, shit. Malcolm X. I am Malcolm X. I am Assata Shakur. I am Bell Hooks. Those are like ancestral, historic influences. My mentors are Ajamu and Rukia Dillahunt, who ran Freedom Books in Raleigh, North Carolina. Dr. Gail Parker, who has taught me that restorative yoga is healing and necessary for Black folks who are navigating race-based stress and trauma. Jocelyn Robinson, who's the founding director of the HBCU Radio Preservation Project where I work. Those folks are my mentors. My husband, who is Eddie Coley, Senegalese, French, Tonton Eddie, and his mom, who's in the exhibit, by the way. She's the one whose hands are so beautifully rendered by Gee, and she's a diviner, and she's my mother-in-law. And my parents, for sure. I've been collaborating with Gee since 2020. I've been collaborating with Andra Franklin, who's a Cincinnati-based multimedia textile artist, since 2020. Actually, since 2018 in Angela's case. But if you said, what's your ideal collaboration? Because I talk about Chebu Jam, which is the national dish of Senegal, and it's this idea that you eat from a communal plate, I'd like to collaborate with a foundation who would like to provide me with a multi-million-dollar grant, multi-year. No, seriously, right? Like, this is Mental Health Awareness Month. The world feels tenuous, and that's just the beginning of it. It's unraveling. So I would like to collaborate with more artists who are curious and open to what it means to come to a place like Senegal and in a Sankofa journey where they can see themselves and do some healing work, do some creative work, get out of their heads, get into their bodies. Like that's, yeah, but I need it to be funded. It needs to be fully funded. You can't take all this creative Black intellectual juiciness that is me and these other artists and just consume it. You know what I'm saying?